Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
All right, good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of the program Global Morning on Global Television. My name is Anthony Momodu and I'm ready to ensure that your day is beautiful. But I've got the special part of me that would ensure that today is truly beautiful, and she's the lady in red. Good morning, Juma.
Good morning, Anthony Momodu. It's great to have you here. So I'm the special part.
Yeah, it takes two to tango, they say. And two good heads better than one.
Yeah, they say that.
And from the aftermath of the 64th anniversary, it's shown that Nigeria is as great as she is because we've got the women folks and the male folks contributing to the greatness of Nigeria.
Exactly. Of course, the women folks, I want to always hammer on that because Anthony likes to shy away from that aspect most of the time. Of course, women folks are making impact, paving way, and it's a very important aspect for, like you said, we complement the male folk. And of course, it's Global Morning this morning, and I am Jumai Manson. It's great to be on the program.
All right, today is truly a very special day. We're looking at the 2nd of October, celebrated across the world as the Non-Violence Day, in remembrance of one man, Mahatma Gandhi, who was born today.
Oh, my goodness.
The fact that he initiated the non-violent approach towards changing social and political affairs in India, and it's been adopted across the world. So the United Nations thought it was the best thing to do to ensure that that legacy lives on, and that's why today we're celebrating the non-violence day today, known by the Indian leader in the person of Mahatma Gandhi. So across the world, we hope we adopt that policy, especially when you look at the fact that when it comes to politics and other issues across emerging economies like Nigeria, violence seem to always be part of election or electoral processes.
Yes, of course, violence. I'm talking about, still going back to talk about Mahatma Gandhi. One of my favorite quotes he'll say is, an eye for an eye makes the world go blind. That's always been my favorite quote. But and at the same time, of course, talking about India and all of that, and of course, bilateral relationships in which we have with them, the ties in which we have, I think it's good. It's a long way forward. And let's see how well that erupts and brings something valuable to us, very importantly.
All right, we're still looking at still the aftermath of Nigeria's 64th anniversary. And yesterday, I remember you did call to find out if we're inhaling some tear gas. But apparently, it's the report reaching us says it did happen. The Nigerian police force actually used what we call the force in trying to disperse protesters who were trying to march towards the iconic Eagle Square. And fortunately, we were at the Eagle Square, and it was really a very tough task getting to the iconic Eagle Square. A lot of roadblocks, and but unfortunately, on the flip side, the Nigerian police force felt the best way they could disperse the protesters who were protesting against the high cost of living was to tear gas them once again.
You know, like I said, I made that call when I emerged. Immediately, I heard, and I wanted to know if you, the crew,
was
okay, and you were fine,
yeah.
if you were safe, and all of that. Now, looking at it, I want to ask, because you were basically on ground. What was going on? As in, was it warranted, the tear gas and all of that on the protesters? Was it violent?
Well, we headed towards the Eagle Square from the central area axis. What we noticed were loads of heavily armed security personnel. Even when you did identify yourself as the press, they would not let you pass. So we had to park very far away and walked our way towards the Eagle Square. There was a lot of stop and search, fierce-looking security guards. But what we heard was from the bigger axis of the FCT. That was where the protesters were. The police tried to stop them from marching towards the Eagle Square. But the truth is, the Eagle Square is so far away from the bigger axis. So I didn't think it was that serious or that close for them to resort to tear gas. They would have used other diplomatic means, like Mahatma Gandhi's quote and legacies of ensuring peaceful protests. And these protesters were not carrying guns, they were not carrying machetes. So there was no need for that. I think they were just being overzealous, and being Federal Capital Territory, they didn't want any slights to come from the axis. I guess that was why they quickly went with that forceful tear gas.
And just to add, I'm just thinking that no one wants to give anything to chance. So of course, we know how some miscreants.
The last protest.
Yes, the last protest. Individuals lost their lives in the last protest, and what played out, and of course, government properties that were looted. I think no one wants to leave anything to chance. Once they spike any shuffle or ruffle, they just swing into action. But at least the most important thing from reports, no life was lost, and of course everything was calm. So that's the most important thing, don't you think, Anthony?
Yeah, very important. I think on the flip side, you would not blame the security agencies. They didn't want to take any chances, because we saw in the northern region where they were a little bit lenient to the people. It cost them a lot.
It did.
And so
government properties
were destroyed.
Of course, vandaled into government organizations, picked out their chairs, their decks. That's all going.
That was serious.
Someone going out.
It was actually to say, let me take my part of the national cake now that I've got the opportunity.
Really, like the copying machine,
they stole everything outside.
So I think no one wants to take anything to chance. But as much as it's your right, your fundamental right to come out and protest, and at the same time, like I said, it should be civil, and passing your message, it's very important. And of course, security agents, they have a role to play to maintain calm, and of course, very important to maintain calm.
All right, those are some of the happenings, although we've got something very disturbing playing out in Borno State, where we hear as much as 11 persons have lost their lives in Ado local government area due to cholera outbreak. Very disturbing and sad commentary. 11 persons losing their lives, and the Commission of Health in Borno State is saying they're doing all they can to ensure that is halted in terms of the cholera spread. And cholera has to do with hygiene. So I think the people have a role to play to ensure that the spread is halted, and probably the environmental, agency in the state has to do more.
It has to do more. Like I said, some of the basics when it comes to that aspect, and from what I've read, research, and doctors, I have doctors as friends, and they'll tell you the basics. You must understand that you shouldn't leave your food out in the open because flies tend to peck and of course do their nasty on it when it comes to laying their eggs, and then people go out and still eat. You must leave your food covered. You must boil your water. Very important, because some waters are not they're not clean enough for you to take into consumption. So it's very important you boil water. It's very important you can sieve the water. Yes, people use various means preserving water, and of course making it clean and all of that. So it's very important we understand that hygiene is key, and at the same time the water intake, and of course the environment, like when it has to do with the there are various parts of toilets when it comes to the pit toilets and all of that.
Those rural areas.
So that's why they are most hit, because they have a big role to play, keeping it clean, keeping it tidy, and ensuring
And the open defecation, which Nigeria is trying to eliminate.
Some do that close to the riverside. So
and the same water is where they bathe,
take in,
and take
cook,
to
and
cook.
all of that. So we must understand all these things. I think we need a much more awareness than what we have now, especially in the rural area, because that's where you hear the most hits. When you hear 11, you know, it doesn't even matter even if it's one life. A life is a life. You understand? So I think we need a lot of awareness. I think this is a time where we need, I hope, practitioners, all hands on deck. We don't want to hear any strike right now.
If it means them relocating from the city centers to those areas, just to help them curb this scourge of cholera.
Yes, it's very important that we understand. Like you said, hygiene. You have to be very.
It's number one.
It's number one, really. Hygiene. You have to be very clean when it comes to your food, the pots that you use, and all of that. The area because flies and all of these things are that perch on food.
And not to forget that we hear in some quarters that the Benin people are in love with that famous rat, right? There's this rat.
The bush rat.
Okay, the bush rat. And that's could be another very dangerous sign.
Okay, that
bush rat, you know.
For people that have had the bush rat, okay, have I had the bush rat?
Had you say had? As you've eaten it?
Are you kidding me? It's like it's
a delicacy.
It's a delicacy for people
for you.
Better.
Oh, but now I guess where you get your swag from.
Like, are you kidding me, Anthony?
But how does it taste? Like
it's really
like
nice.
a snail? Is that as nice as a snail?
No. Like, it's just like it's meat. Like it's.
I can't believe you.
What haven't I tried when it comes to being a foodie? What haven't I tried?
Oh,
but the thing is, it's their delicacy. It's dangerous. But how would you tell?
Well, how do you eat it? What do you mix it with?
No, how do you tell the team man that these bushfire? Are you kidding? What are you saying? But I think, Anthony, in order to curb that, some people don't boil it properly. So that is
why temperature where it kills all this.
That's why we're Africans. We boil. We do not eat medium rare.
Like this is the kill African man.
But at the same time, we need to boil it. It needs to boil. It needs to cook well done. It has to be well done. I think when it's well done and well seasoned with the tomatoes, the onions, and all of that put in place, everything is good.
You're making me feel like it's going to be a nice one to try out.
Yeah, you should.
All right, while we're having a peaceful 64th anniversary and in the celebration mood, out there in the global scene, it's still war for Hamas, Israel, and Iran. So he says the reports we're getting just some few hours ago, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, has warned Iran, saying they made a grave mistake firing missiles at Israel on Tuesday, and that has though the military chief of Israel has said there are no yet reports of any casualties. We're happy for that, but it's really scary because Iran has also replied saying that's just a portion of your scene. So it's just like that's the tip of the iceberg. That's dangerous. It means more missiles are likely to hit Israel and more lives in danger. We see videos and pictures from the Palestinian ambassador Abdul Shawesh as regards kids, children, women that have lost their lives and are still losing their lives. And I think the United Nations, the US, and other world bodies need to do more so that we can have peace in the Middle East.
And at the same time, really, a lot needs to be done to harmonize, to bring peace. Because really, if you watch those footage, Anthony, your heart will be broken when you see the women and children who have lost their lives, civilians that have lost, they do not know how to duck when it comes to this. They do not know. I don't think they
safety measures.
They have no clue. Civilians that don't have any clue when it comes to safety measures. It's just those that in the military that understands that you have to duck. You have their what did you call it? Their
bunkers. Where you have to hide.
But they have no clue. Now you wonder, what have these children done? Because countries they've decided that they're going to go on loggerheads and they do not want a peace pact. So it's just unfortunate. And I just pray that everything comes, we all pray that peace pact is the way forward for me. I will always say, just embrace peace and hopefully whatever missiles they throw or whatever, it shouldn't affect the vulnerable, because they're the ones that are most affected when it comes to war in countries.
All right, very sad commentary there, but like we said, we're hoping for the very best in the Middle East. We'll be going for a quick break. When we return from the break, hopefully I will be having our papers on looking at the top stories making the rounds when we come back, looking at what the papers are saying this morning. Stay with us.
Is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Welcome back. You're still watching Global Morning, and it's time for us to look at what the papers are saying this morning. We've got the Blueprint newspaper as the first paper we'll be looking at. It has very interesting stories. The headline says, Tinubu's 30-day confab excites Youth Council, Indigbo, APC, and others. That's the first headline story. You find Tinubu's 30-day confab excites Youth Council, Indigbo, APC, and others. We've got WHO targets 2.5 million Borno children for third polio immunization. I am ready to swear I didn't steal as Kaduna governor, says El-Rufai. I am ready to swear I didn't steal as Kaduna governor, says El-Rufai. You find that story on page 4 of the Blueprint newspaper. We've got some sporting stories there. Says AFCON 2025 is the kicker there. And they're fighting to be fit for Super Eagles versus Libya Cracker. That's the big story then from the sports angle. And we've got Shawari defiant as low turnout mars October 1st protests. Those are some of the big stories there. And from the business angle, we've got Naira stabilizes as CBN tightens policy. Analysts warn of market volatility. That's on page 12.
Well, I just want to, before we go to the next paper, like two stories there. I'm ready to, interesting. The one that says, I'm ready to swear I didn't steal as Kaduna governor. That's he's saying that.
Yeah, it depends on what he's going to swear. Is it the popular Yoruba gods? Because that's the one that can scare someone to say the truth. What if you're just swearing for the sake of swearing? You could as well still lie on that oath, like people do.
And then this part that says Shoere defiant as low turnout mars October 1st protests. Now, for me, I think some Nigerians, or will I say Nigerians, are tired, Anthony, because we keep going back and forth with this. So I will understand. In my mind,
you think that's why there was a low turnout?
Because people are tired. People are
not because the president says there should be low-key celebration.
Exactly, and at the same time, a lot of individuals are already tired. They are tired when it comes to all of these things going back and forth. Like, people are not listening. They're not seeing the effort of this present administration, which there is effort, but we're not just seeing it yet.
It's not coming to the fore yet.
Exactly. So I think with all of this, we should learn to be patient and know that everything, by the grace of God, will be fine. Right, Anthony?
All right, let's hope so, because when we begin to see the positives of whatever efforts the government has done, then it's going to be easier for people to appreciate more. Like we talked about it on the desk, the fact that these challenges have been on for years, it's not going to be a miracle for the efforts to be seen in 6 months or in a year. So hopefully in the coming years, before this first term wraps up, we should be seeing the efforts come to pass.
Exactly, and positivity. All right, next is the Daily Sun, and beside the nameplate of the Daily Sun, it says, APC admits economic reforms causing discomfort, and you can find that on page 61. We are facing state capture, and that's in the words of Obi. And here it says, Kwakwaso APC government not in touch with reality. And the star story of the Daily Sun says, police protesters clash in Abuja. And the writer there reads, Tinubu pushing Nigerians to wall, Shoere. And the second writer says, Rivers youth move against protesters. And you can find that on page 4 and 61. And here it says, Chairman, The Sun Publishing Limited, Naya Kalu Wright, receiving award of 25 most powerful women journalism during the 2024 WIJ conference in Lagos. And of course, that was yesterday. You mentioned about women making impact.
Impact, yeah.
Yes, and of course, women are really making impact. Right, Anthony?
Yeah, congratulations to the women folk for having been there.
Like, I always want to rub that on your face because I really
you're making, I'm he for she, they say, right?
No, you are not. You are not. Everyone knows that.
It's everyone.
I want you to know that. All right, now it says Tinubu, Shetima, Sambo others celebrate independence anniversary in Aso. And the writer there says US, UK, EU facilitate. Ohaneze demands political pardon for Nnamdi Kanu. Police arrest Monarch, 12 others over alleged marine hunters murder in Akwa Ibom. And that's on page 4. Asanis set senator's home varsity building on fire over fake report. And you can find that on page 4. And please go out and get your Daily Sun to be more informed when it comes to news making round. Do you have any stories?
Yeah, I've got some, I think, 3 interesting stories. One of them says Ohaneze demands political pardon for Nnamdi Kanu. I think it's controversial that Nnamdi Kanu's continuous incarceration. At a point, he says that the Southeast governors are not supporting the release of Nnamdi Kanu. The question is why? And now we're having Ohaneze demanding the political pardon. The fact that Binta Nyaku, Justice Binta Nyaku, who had said if she sees no case against Nnamdi Kanu, rather she feels that there should be settlement outside court, means it shouldn't be that difficult for them to reach a truce for him to get his freedom. It's looking more like it's a deliberate move to keep him incarcerated, and I think that's not doing Nigeria any good.
A lot of good.
Then I like the way the caption says APC admits economic reforms causing discomfort. The choice of words by the editor, it's a very strategic one. Discomfort makes it mild what Nigerians are going through. I think we're not just going through discomfort, it's really hardship. So I think, yes, I know he was trying to
maintain that balance.
But he's not doing Nigerians justice as regards what they are truly going through.
But remember you said something. You said for this present administration, it's not going to be an overnight attempt to douse down the situation that is ongoing in the country. Of course, we understand there are lots of economic hardship. We understand that the high cost of living when it comes to inflation.
But there seems to be a key that could make a lesson, because if you look at the whole of the genesis of this hardship, it seems to be the fuel issue. So we're looking at, can they, for the sake of humanity, for the sake of the fact that the government says they understand what Nigerians are going through, trickle this down to 600 naira per litre, or towards 500 naira per litre, then you can increase other aspects of our national lives. That will already make people feel like, yes, this government truly loves us. There are other technical ways they can also get revenues. So that's what I'm looking at. And also reduce the cost of governance. That could also help generate revenue for the government. And even with all this increase, we still see government borrow and borrow and borrow.
Yes,
so
we do not know the returns.
So I think there could be somewhere.
A tweak somewhere.
So that's because that's the only thing the common man understands. Once you say the fuel price has been reduced, it will make this government a hero.
Well, at the same time, let's just say, like, we know that lots of efforts have been made by this present administration. We're not lie. For as much as there is hardship, a lot of Nigerians, everyone is going through a lot. I would tell you for free that you would be surprised on the amount of fuel I buy in my car compared to.
See, that's the good part of it. You can buy.
No,
some people can't even buy.
I know, but the amount is like times 4.
True.
So everyone is going through this. Even the farmer, you think the farmer doesn't know that to transport his particular goods to the city, it's going to cost a lot. Like we said, we know that a lot of hardship when it comes to fuel, like you've mentioned, which is one of the key areas because it affects each and every one of us. But at the same time, we should understand, let's just relax and see where this goes. Of course, we know about the Dangote refinery and we understand NNPCL and all of that. You're trying to make that balance and all. Let's just see how it plays out. And then if nothing comes out of it, because we'll
come out guns blazing, right?
I guess. So at the same time, we know that there are efforts being made. And let's at least kudos to this administration, that particular effort that is being made. So let's just see how well this goes, and then we will know from then on to see how the economy stabilizes, because that's all we want for stability. We want to be able to afford these basics of basic commodities, which is very important.
All right, the last story that caught my attention is Kwankwaso saying APC government not in touch with reality. The truth is, whenever you get into power or get to power, it's not possible for you to be completely in touch with reality because the sycophants around you, the largesse you get, everything is technically done for you by the government, and so you would not truly feel because you're not going to be experiencing a power outage. You're not going to buy fuel.
No.
The kitchen is already stocked to the teeth, so it's so I think Kwankwaso is just saying it's because he's outside the corridors of power. So, but I think there should be a very strategic way where how governments of the day should be able to gauge the pulse of the people, and we are hoping the policies of the present day government would help in achieving just that.
And next is the Daily Trust, and over to you, Anthony.
Okay, looking at the Daily Trust, let's see what the Daily Trust has in store for us. We've got some very interesting headlines. Protest in Lagos, Ondo, Osun halted in Abuja. And I've got other headline story. We've got Media Trust elevates Idris Iyaji to DEIC and GE. All right, that's concerning Daily Trust. We've got Independence Day is a rider. Jonathan Governors Mark saying Nigeria will overcome challenges. Okay, those are some of the headline story. And then we've got Samoa agreement is a rider there. Our apology. But those are some of the interesting headline stories there. But protests in Lagos, Ondo, and Osun, but halted in Abuja. So do we say the state still finding how to curb a protest? But in Abuja, it's always A plus for the security agencies. They just have a way of being able to curtail it.
Exactly, which is very important. Of course, this is the Federal Capital Territory. The president is here. The vice president is here. House of Assembly members are here. Rep members are here. A lot of are you kidding me? It has to halt here. What are you saying? Like, seriously, it has to. They have to curb it any which way they want to go. Like, seriously, it has to be. We have to learn.
In as much as they have to, there shouldn't be infringement of the fundamental rights of Nigerians.
As long, like I've said,
as long as it's peaceful.
As long as it's civil, it's peaceful.
But we've seen peaceful, protests. The last one that occurred, where it was quite very peaceful, but we're drenched in tear gas.
I think what triggered that was other parts of other states actually triggered what you saw.
Made them very
alarming. Because did you see what happened in Kano?
No, Kano was the first thing. They looted the...
So they were all scared. And you know, when it comes to protests, everyone is working together in unity. The protesters, they're all together because they're being mobilized from different states. So if anything goes wrong there, just know it's going to affect another state. So as much as you can curb it, so it would not escalate to that. Like I said, a lot of miscreants will want to actually use this as an avenue to create chaos and problems. So whatever is going on, you have to halt. When you come to halt, just halt.
But okay, well, that's my case.
Rest your case.
All right, we've got the New Telegraph coming up next, and Chimamanda, I noticed the New Telegraph matches with your dress code. It's a red, new, and the Telegraph is in black.
Okay.
Is there a connection there?
Okay, there is no connection, please. And of course, the New Telegraph above the nameplate, it says fuel importation hit 6-month high, a 35% increase in September. And below that, it says Citigroup CBN should adopt flexible approach to shield Naira. And you can find that on page 8. Now, below the nameplate of the New Telegraph, it says, of course, here, it says, El Rufai, I didn't steal money as governor, I'm ready to swear. And NACCIMA admits Nigeria's economy in Quaramere. And it says, assures OPS hopeful of economic emancipation. And you can find that on page 3. And then next we have Damagu, and he says, Tinubu's Independence Day speech, usual rhetoric, false claims, and that's PDP there. Iran launches barrage of missiles at Israel. And you can find that on page 4 and 5, and with a smile of Netanyahu on his face there. Kenyan MPs begin process to impeach deputy president. And the Star story there says Tinubu, Shetima, others celebrate independence anniversary in Aso Villa. And the writer there says Wike preaches unity, hopes as governors, others facilitate Nigerians. And the second writer says seek freedom from state capture, suffering, Obi tells Nigerians. And the third writer says here, CUPP to Tinubu, take responsibility for current hardship. And the fourth writer says, together we can overcome challenges. Now, that's can. Tinubu administration clear barricades, APC Ajayi. And NYU tackled Tinubu over proposed National Youth Conference, and you can find that on page 4. One's 2014 COMFAB report implemented to reduce governance costs. RIF resolve as Emirates flight lands in Lagos after 2 years, and you can find that story on page 5. Compressed natural gas, 20 children dead after Thai school bus fire, and you can find that on page 4 of the New Telegraph. And here it says security agencies frustrate hashtag fearless October protest in Abuja. And you can find that on page 4, 5, and 28 of the New Telegraph. And the rider reads, as action holds in Lagos, Ondo others, those CSOs demand fuel subsidy restoration. Others, and here it says evil forces threatening Nigeria, heroes pass Obarawuro, and here it says impending strike, hardship on campuses getting unbearable. ASU warns Tinubu. Now there's a health study that says growing up with a dog can boost gut health. I do not know how that can boost your gut health, but you have to just go to page 27 and find out, because that's a research study. And basically, those are all the stories on the New Telegraph. And one that captures my eye, Anthony, is this impending strike, hardship on campuses getting unbearable. ASU warns Tinubu, and really.
All right, we had expected that the federal government would have reached out to ASU even before the October 1st celebrations, because ASU had given a 14-day ultimatum before now. And it's very sad that the education sector is not taken very seriously. Nigeria has never reached the 24% mark. The United Nations put for budgetary allocations to the education sector. And it's very painful, because we have very highly learned and traveled ministers. Even the president studied in the best schools across the globe. So it's hard to understand why he cannot see the importance of the education sector, give them all they need to ensure that Nigerian youths we produce the best doctors and all that.
Yes, we do. They make impacts when they travel
despite
abroad.
the shortfalls in the allocation. So just imagine if they get all they desire, then it's going to be fantastic. The country will be better. And like I was discussing with Umar Yaguda yesterday on the desk, he kept saying the fact that the education sector is not well, budgeted for is because our leaders know how key it is that when youths, especially those in the northern region, are well educated, they're going to stand up and speak truth to power against them, and they do not want people that are going to challenge them. So that's technically deliberate. But it's very sad that our leaders, the one thing that the people need most, education, is taken for granted. We're celebrating our 64th anniversary. We remembered our founding fathers took education very seriously, so they made it even free. The likes of our current president and co, they told us how they had very sound education in the past. Their tuition fees were paid by the government. They had cars given to them when they graduated. Jobs were waiting for them once they graduated. And it was easy for them to even leave the shores of Nigeria to the UK, for wherever to study, via even community contribution and all that. So it's very sad that they cannot replicate that for this generation. Yeah,
it's really unfortunate. I was speaking with Uyi the other day and was talking about it, like this has lingered for too long.
Yes,
when it comes to ASU going back and forth, and the key individuals who are affected by all of these are the students. It's not easy. Like I told you, some families have a particular projection. They have already calculated.
In 3 years, in 4 years, my son is going to be out.
In fact, let me shock you now. In 4 years, and these, whatever it takes, there's the miscellaneous added to that one year. Give or take, it won't exceed this particular balance. They have already projected. And in some households, because of how hard the economy is, they will have to choose the best among their children to go to school. So that when he is out after 4 years, he will support the family and actually sponsor one of his siblings to school. Now, it's making life difficult for households, individuals in school who cannot afford. There are some students I knew a girl when I was in the university. She couldn't afford to eat 3 schools, and it wasn't as bad as how it was now. But that was it. The plan was, when you're in school, you eat once, and then in the morning,
then
and
probably at night.
At night, sometimes, if you want to, you can prefer to eat and drink water. That was how she lived. That was how it was for her. And there are people now, you can imagine what is going on now. A lot of people cannot.
Schools where you need to buy handouts, textbooks.
No, they cannot afford
you have to go for rehearsals. You have to do some practical things that demand daily money.
Exactly. So now it's really unfortunate that these individuals who are in power do not understand that the key people here are the future generations, the children who are in the university, who are going through this phase of their life. It's not easy for households, I would tell you for free. A lot of people are going through a lot. So that is why it's important that ASU is one particular body that we should take seriously.
I think they should take them as serious as the security agents.
Not that, as health. Are you kidding me?
You know why I'm saying this? Because they seem to give the security agencies all they desire because one, they're scared of military takeover, so if we please them.
I don't think they're scared of military takeover.
Yeah,
I beg to differ. I think it's securing lives and property. It doesn't matter security.
Because
military takeover.
If you remember at a point in the West African region, ECOWAS, where there were lots of military takeovers in the countries.
Okay.
That was at that time we noticed there was uptake in their welfare and all that, and there was this consistent talk about the welfare of the military and the security agencies. It was at that point they even decided to meter or ensure that there was light across all the formations. These things were done with the fact that they know these people were key to their continuous existence in office. So I think the health sector, the education sector, these areas are very key because these students we're talking about, both male and female, once they cannot fend, the families can't fend for themselves, they'll be forced to go out. And what it means, they're going to get into armed robbery, prostitution, just to meet up. And I was
going to come to that. And that's the thing. Now, see, these kids, now they said the idle mind is the devil's workshop.
And the hungry man is an angry man.
The hungry man
so
is an
mix these two
So if you cannot keep these children in school based on this economic hardship, and because you cannot meet up with this body at ASU, they are going to go out. And many families, because of this back and forth, they cannot afford this back and forth that the government and of course ASU they're going through right now. They tell the children, okay, fine. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing you can do. Or you're now on your own, like you have said. And look at the high risk of insecurity in Pape. Young boys who actually go into homes, the people are there, they break into homes and steal and come with machete, and that is what is ongoing. I'm telling you, young boys who are supposed to be in the university, supposed to be in school, and they'll tell you they're undergraduates because this is what the country has brought to them, and they're going to embrace it. So criminality and all of these things is on the rise now. So please, I think the government has a lot to do when it comes to this back and forth with ASU in order for children to be in school and to read and to become better in their lives. It's just unfortunate this is where we found ourselves in Nigeria. This is one of the things that we're talking about. For as much as the student loan is a beautiful idea, amazing idea.
Sustainable. And how many students can truly benefit from this?
But you see, with this back and forth with ASU, it's not making it look as beautiful and glaring as it ought to be. So it is unfortunate that this is where we found ourselves in Nigeria. But we hope with time. But how long?
Yeah.
But let's just see.
All right, the last story that caught my attention from the New Telegraph has to do with the fuel importation that hits 6 months high at 35% increase in September. Very disturbing because we were hoping that as we left September into October, we're going to see drop in prices of fuel, especially with Dangote coming on board. And the president also reassuring us that with time, prices are going to normalize. But this story is quite disturbing.
Yes, it is.
Also, on the global scene, we've seen Iran launches a barrage of missiles at Israel. We talked about it earlier on.
Yes, we did.
I think there's need for more concerted efforts by the United Nations, the US, and the superpowers to ensure that there's peace in the Middle East. Because whether you like it or not, it's going to affect the other part of the world. Because we know Iran, Iraq, and these other countries are members of OPEC. This oil producing, so it's going to affect us somehow. So there's need for peace.
It's definitely going to affect us. Like I always say, if there's war somewhere else, don't just hold on and say it's not my country. In one way or the other, there's that line. It's going to come. It's going to affect. So we just, like you said, I'm a peace ambassador. They've not given me that title yet. No one has given me that title, but I always preach peace because it's very important. Really, it is. Peace is just the way forward. Once, like even in the good books, it says even your enemy should be at peace with you. Really, just peace all the way. I just pray the settlement comes in quickly, because it's beneficial to us as Nigeria. It's very important because this is a hard struggle. So it's very important that peace just rules.
Especially today, October 2nd, as we celebrate Mahatma Gandhi's day, the day of non-violence. We hope that Israel and Hamas would look into the holy books, which both of them practice, so that we can have peace.
I like it. You know, I mentioned at the beginning, I said my favorite quote, Mahatma Gandhi, is an eye for an eye.
You seem like you like that.
Even being a radio and on-air personality, I've always loved that particular quote because it shows that violence is not the answer. Once you give me a punch in my eye, which is very hard for me to do.
I'm sure you're going to, I can imagine you reventing. Which you're supposed to turn the other eye for them.
But because of the kind of woman I am, but at least it shows that peace is the only way. And the thing is, once you do something evil to someone and you do not react, and you just, the person's conscience, that's if he has a conscience, will actually trigger something like, oh my goodness, this person, okay, I'm sorry.
But you're not going to turn the other cheek like the
I
book
won't.
says.
No, I'm only preaching. I'm telling you that this is the preaching part.
Okay, now that you're going to adhere to it.
I will.
Okay. All right,
I don't know why you're laughing so much. You think I won't adhere to
I just imagine when you said the blow to the eye, I wonder why a blow to the eye. You know the Bible said it's a slap on the cheek, right?
You turn the cheek.
So,
as a good person.
You know there's a sport where they slap the cheeks, and oh boy. I think
but really, but at the same time, at the same time, Anthony, peace is just the answer.
True,
so as much as you think it is, as much as you're very temperamental, peace is just
the way to go.
Like really, it is.
All right, I think we're going for a quick break.
Yes,
let's get a report by Amina that reminds us of our great leaders of the past. Then hopefully when we come back, we take 1 or 2 papers before we run into the Global AM News.
And then, like we said, let's not forget that immediately after the AM News, we come back for the part 2 of the papers.
True.
So if you've missed out on the papers at the beginning, don't worry. We're still going to come back immediately after the AM News. Stick around. It's Global Morning on Global Television.
Independence Day is an official national holiday in Nigeria, commemorated by her government and the people to mark Nigeria's proclamation of her independence from British rule. Nigeria gained her independence, receiving her Freedom Charter on October 1, 1960, after calls for independence of territories in Africa and the decline of the British Empire. Since the attainment of independence, Nigeria experienced long-standing regional stresses caused by ethnic competitiveness, educational inequality, and economic imbalance. In 1975, Brigadier General Murtala Ramat Muhammad initiated the process for a return to civilian rule before he was assassinated in December 1976. During the Second Republic, a new constitution was formed to replace the British-style parliamentary system with a presidential one. Following Nigeria's continued economic decline in the Second Republic, the military seized the opportunity to stage a coup on December 31st, 1983, and General Ibrahim Babangida in 1985 assumed power and promised that the public opinion would influence his decision and those of the Armed Forces Ruling Council. This led to the public demanding an end to military rule. A transition program was announced in 1986. The 1979 Constitution was modified by a Constituent Assembly. A presidential election was slated for June 1993 between two pro-government candidates, Chief MKO Abiola of the SDP and Alhaji Bashir Tofa of the NRC. Till present, this election is considered the most peaceful, free and fair elections in the history of Nigeria, producing Chief Abiola as the winner. General Babangida, however, annulled the results before they became official, which led to him being forced out of power in August 1993, and an interim national government was instituted. With Chief Abiola's victory at the June 1993 elections, Nigeria's political future was considered to be bright, but was hampered by Abacha's seizure of power. But with Abacha's sudden death in June 1998, General Abdulsalam Abubakar was appointed to replace him, and he promised to transfer power to civilians. Nigeria returned to civil rule in the year 1999 with General Olusegun Obasanjo as the president-elect and was sworn in on May 29, 1999. Since then, Nigeria has experienced an uninterrupted democracy. 64 years later, Nigeria, despite its numerous developments, is still faced with labor troubles, economic issues, and insecurity, among others. A lot of Nigeria's hopes are dashed, while aspirations are getting higher.
The masses are not smiling. They deceive all, they say they remove the subsidy, everything will be okay. Now everything is going high every day.
There is no longer a safe place for a poor man anymore. It's now survival of the fittest.
All the exposures where our senators, our governors, they travel abroad, go see. They need to start implementing those things here.
A country where somebody stole 82 billion naira as a former governor, walked into the economic and financial crime after being declared wanted, and they told him to go. They don't want him. In the night, the same EFCC went to his house and started shooting gun. Is that on Netflix?
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu, in his Independence Day broadcast, expressed concerns over the pains Nigerians are going through in the face of the economic challenges.
I want to assure you that your voices are heard. As your president, I assure you that we are committed to finding sustainable solutions to alleviate the suffering of our citizens. Once again, I plead for your patience as the reforms we are implementing show positive signs, and we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
This year, To mark the beginning of the celebration was a World Press Conference held in Abuja, themed reflecting on the past and
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nicomsat. Now the news in full. President Tinubu has addressed Nigerians in a nationwide broadcast to mark the nation's 64th independence anniversary. The president stated that the country has experienced a number of challenges but has learned to better manage its differences. Tinubu also highlighted the successes recorded by his administration with a promise to roll out more people-oriented initiatives. In a related development, Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has reiterated that the security of the people remains paramount, so this is to his administration, reaffirming his commitment to marking decisions that prioritize the welfare of Oyo State residents. Speaking during a state broadcast October to mark Nigeria's 64th independence anniversary, Governor Makinde highlighted the importance of strengthening democratic institutions and fostering unity amongst Nigerians. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has appealed to political leaders across party lines to forge a formidable coalition that would provide Nigerians with a credible opposition capable of steering the nation towards a promising future. He stated this while congratulating Nigerians on the nation's 64th independence anniversary, just as he urged a united endeavor to alleviate the country to the greatness envisioned by its esteemed founders. The Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has launched the nation's resilience entrepreneurial spirit amongst global challenges in a post shared on X in commemoration of Nigeria's 64th independence anniversary. Okonjo-Iweala stated that despite the tough times facing the nation, Nigerians should appreciate what she described as being one of the most interesting countries in the world. Operatives of the Nigerian police have fired tear gas canisters at youth protesting the high cost of living in the country. For that very short break, over now to the news. Nigeria's 64th independence anniversary was reflective of President Bola Tinubu's directive for the commemoration to be low-key, given the harsh economic and insecurity challenges facing the country. Manifesting the presence of armed security operatives within and outside the Federal Capital Territory and the evident watering down of activities at the otherwise iconic Eagle Square. Global Television political correspondent Anthony Momodu reports that Nigerians expressed mixed feelings on the low-key celebration.
There was the obvious slowdown of activities to mark Nigeria's 64th independence anniversary within the Federal Capital Territory, occasioned with the litany of roadblocks by security agencies leading to the iconic Eagle Square. Speaking on the nation's 64 years of nationhood, Assistant Inspector General of Police Ben Igwe said the police has been instrumental to the nation's unity and safety.
64 years of police being the leader of internal security architecture. And it is equally a 64 years of police success, being the leader of internal security structure.
Honorable Ginika Tor, a federal commissioner in the Federal Character Commission, and other citizens, says the government is taking proactive steps in bettering the lives of Nigerians. Thus, citizens should be patient and supportive of the government policies and programs.
For the country, we're celebrating 64. Some are saying they're not happy. What are they celebrating? We're celebrating life. We're celebrating the fact that what happens in Nigeria, 1/10 of it will happen in another country and there will be war.
We have moved from the colonial area, and let's thank God. Though we can be better, but all well and good, we should thank God that we are living peacefully as a people.
However, other Nigerians believe there is little to celebrate with regards to the 64th independence anniversary, describing the hardship in the country as biting, as others believe the government is not doing enough to quell the challenges facing the country.
The religious leaders, right from the independence, played a very, very significant role towards the unity and harmonization of Nigerians, because the religions of Islam as well as Christianity that we are practicing here in Nigeria as the majority call on peace, love and unity.
We want to hear that the fuel price has come down at least a little to 500 naira. So we can still manage. It's terrible with us. It's difficult.
The president's speech, there's not much to talk about because currently the economic outlook of Nigeria is at bleak. But the president is trying to carry out some reforms that will, better the lives of Nigeria.
To be a woman in Nigeria is not really easy. It's been difficult. Right from birth and up to adulthood, all women in Nigeria suffer.
But we're in one of Nigeria's most famous ground, the Eagle Square, where national activities usually would take place. But 2024, Nigeria's 64th anniversary is a different case, owing to the directive from President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who has said that all celebrations should be on low key. And so, in the Eagle Square, where we are presently, shows that there is low key in terms of celebration of Nigeria's 64th anniversary. We've spoken to some Nigerians who have said the president's decision for a low key celebration is well in line, especially when you put into perspective the hardship Nigerians are currently going through, but have also suggested that there's light outside the tunnel. And so we're hoping that this would usher in good tidings for Africa's biggest black nation, Nigeria. I'm not alone. I have my colleague Sharon Ajay. What's your take as regards what you've seen?
Well, I would say it is indeed hopeful that the government, the president in question, is actually touched with the plight of the people. And I love the fact that securities are stationed at different locations to, limit the chaos that some Nigerians may want to, bring due to the protest that they were already planning. It's really good that today's celebration, it's low key. It is, like I said, it's hopeful, and it shows that actions will swing into place after today's celebration.
Happy 64th anniversary to all Nigerians wherever you are in the part of the world. This is Anthony Momodi reporting for Global Television News.
Thank you, Anthony, for that report. Youths in Benue State have turned October 1st commemoration into a carnival to mark Nigerians' independence, showing the ongoing fearless in October protests. However, stern-looking policemen were stationed at various junctions within the capital city to beef up security. Similarly, some youths in their hundreds thronged the major streets of the capital city, drumming and dancing. The youths dressed in various cultural attires and danced around the major streets of the capital city. Governor of Taraba State, Dr. Agbo Kefas, says Nigeria can succeed despite negative forecasts or opinion from other nations. He called on Nigerians to remain hopeful, resilient, and hard work towards maintaining a culture of excellence. Kefas, in his message to mark Nigeria's 64th independence anniversary shared on his verified X handle, called Nigerians to reflect on the dreams of the nation's founding fathers while working to maintain a culture of excellence. Over now to the governor of Ogun State, Dakpo Abiodun, says rising inflation, unemployment, and cost of living have impacted the lives of many, creating anxiety about the future. He stated that while speaking during Nigeria's 64th independence anniversary held at the Arcade Ground, Governor's Office, Oke Masung, Abeokuta, these challenges, he says, are real and urgent, requiring immediate and sustained action. Abiodun renewed the call for all hands to be on deck to build a prosperous and stronger nation that could be the pride of all. Zamfara state government has intensified its efforts in routine polio immunization as the state initiated a house-to-house vaccination campaign, extending to religious centers and schools to immunize eligible children against polio. The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Aisha Anka, while going around Gasau and Bagudu local government area of the state to supervise the polio vaccination campaign, the ongoing polio vaccination campaign is to maintain and sustain status of not a single polio case in the state for the past 1 year. Queen Agaba. Now, youths stormed the streets of Oshogbo, the Ogun State capital, to voice their frustrations over the country's economic challenges. The demonstrations, who are seen carrying placards with different inscriptions, called on President Bola Tinubu to reinstate the fuel subsidy to help ease the rising cost of living, particularly the sharp increase in food prices. In Lagos State, former presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore, has joined the ongoing protests. Sowore, who is one of the key organizers of the protests, arrived at the protest ground at the Ikeja Underbridge at exactly 8:50 a.m. Sowore said the protest was a crucial step towards taking Nigeria to the promised land. Officers of the Nigerian police force have shot tear gas at a group of protesters in the Wutako market area of Abuja, the nation's capital, as demonstrations against economic hardship continued across the country. The protesters had gathered at the bustling market to strategize on the day's activity when security operatives dispersed them with tear gas, creating chaos in the area. The Chief Judge of Akwa Ibom State, Justice Eket Obot, has inaugurated a 50-member local government election petition tribunal for the October 5th local government election in the state. Tribunal is made up of 5 members from each of 3 senatorial districts of the state. Speaking while inaugurating the panel at the CJ's chamber in Uyo, Obot said the constitution of the panel was in fulfillment of Section 45, 43, and 45, subsection 1 of the Akwa Ibom State Independent Electoral Commission Law 2024 as amended. Now over to Imo State, where Governor Hope Uzodinma has expressed gratitude to God that despite insecurity in some parts of Nigeria, the nation has not experienced full-blown terrorism like in some African nations. Speaking at a church service ahead of Nigeria's 64th independence, the governor expressed concern over the recent flood disaster in some parts of the country. Global television reporter Amarachi Ibe has details.
Governor Hope Uzodinma, his cabinet members and other top government officials arrived in Maria Assumpta Cathedral in Owerri. The governor and other worshippers are here to pray for the nation's peace in the face of banditry and kidnapping in some parts of the country.
We must not lose sight of the patriotism and faith that burn bright in the hearts of Nigerians. Therefore, I call upon all citizens to unite in prayer and purpose, supporting our current leaders as we strive to rebuild our nation and improve the lives of all.
The governor stated further that Nigeria has been one of the leading African nations and a strong contributor to the world's economy, which he noted that the nation celebrates with gratitude to God and sought intervention for continued progress.
I urge you to give thanks in all circumstances. Let us move from lamentation to celebration. Let us move from despair to hope. The story of our country is not one of defeat, but of God's faithfulness and the potentials before us.
For the church, although Nigeria is battling with challenges, the nation at 64 is worth celebrating.
I thank you all for all you have been doing. A lot of sacrifice going behind the doors, which we do not know of, but all for the good of the people. May God bless you for that. But let us be reminded that today, the suffering in our land is too much. And our people are not asking for too much, but simply to live like humans. Let us affirm their humanity with policies and strategies that are compassionate.
The service was attended by hundreds of residents across Imo State. From Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
Thank you, Marichi, for that report. In response to the recent cholera outbreak that has claimed over 12 lives and hospitalized 304 others, the Adamawa State government has embarked on a large-scale fumigation exercise in Yola and Jimata town. Commissioner for Education Dr. Umar Garba Pele, representing Governor Ahmadu Fintiri, directed fumigators to conduct house-to-house infection in other 20 wards and extended the exercise to all 21 local government areas. You're watching AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When AM News returns, Barcelona, Spain legend in minister to retire from football. Details of these and more right after this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Global Television, bringing you live broadcasts of AM News. Thank you for staying with us. On our business decks, the landing cost of petrol has dropped from 981 naira per litre recorded in September to 25th, 2024 to 945.63% litre as of September 27th. Data released by the Major Energies Marketers Association of Nigeria indicates that the drop in the landing cost of petrol happened following the appreciation of the naira against the United States dollar. The Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, says it has strengthened its partnership with the judiciary aimed at enhancing the persecution of failed banks. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the corporation, Bello Hassan, stated this at the ongoing 19th Abuja International Trade Fair, where he stated that the NDIC's swift response in the case exemplifies its critical role in maintaining financial stability and protecting depositors from the impacts of bank failures. Farmers under the Aegis of All Farmers Association of Nigeria has raised the alarm over looming hunger across the country and urged government to intervene urgently to avert crisis. The national president of the association, Kabir Ibrahim, said food inflation and severe pressures on Nigeria's agricultural system, including no mechanisms, difficulty in access to credit, vegetable and affordable seed, and manageable transportation, insecurity and flooding are driving hunger. Ibrahim warned that unless urgent and focused action is taken to address agriculture and agribusinesses challenges, the country could face devastating food shortages. As the country marks its 64th anniversary, yesterday, maritime operators have urged the federal government to tackle the issue of fluctuating exchange rates to boost importation. The operators, who spoke in Lagos on Monday, however, admitted that the maritime sector had recorded significant growth in the past few years. Now, the youth leader of the Tinkan Island chapter of the Association of Nigerian Licensed Custom Agents, Seriru Remulekun, stated that despite the recorded growth, fiscal policies still pose a big challenge to the sector. He added that the pegging the exchange rate for cargo clearance at less than 1,000 naira to a dollar will grow the sector by over 200%. On our foreign desk, Regional Prosecutor's Office says Russian strike on the center of the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson has killed 7 people. Video published by the region's governor showed debris and broken glass strewn around a market while several bodies lay on the pavement. Tens of thousands of dock workers have gone on strike indefinitely at the ports across much of the U.S., threatening significant trade and economic disruption ahead of the presidential election and the busy holiday shopping season. Now, members of the International Longshoremen's Association, ILA, walked out at 40 major ports along the east and Gulf Coast, halting container traffic from Maine to Texas. The action marks the first such shutdown in almost 50 years. A bus carrying dozens of primary school children has crashed and caught fire just outside the Thai capital, Bangkok. The country's transport minister says 16 children and 3 teachers were reported to have escaped, but 22 pupils and 3 teachers are still unaccounted for. Officials say they have found 10 bodies on the bus. Report says a flash flood had swept through a southern city of Iran, has killed 15 people, updating an earlier toll of 6 dead. Officials say after finding the last body of Hali River flood incident in Joraft, a total of 15 are pronounced dead. However, the search and rescue operations had been brought to an end. Over now to sports, former world heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua has permitted 6th places in the latest World Boxing Organization's ranking, following his defeat to Daniel Dubois, while Nigerian Efe Ajogba is the 10th. Joshua, who went into the fight as the world #1 and hot favorite, suffered a shocking 5th-round knockout, lost to Dubois at Wembley Stadium in front of 95,000 fans. The feat has seen the British-Nigerian boxer drop from the top spot to 7th place in the rankings. The 34-year-old was knocked down 4 times in 5 rounds before the referee waved off the contest. Cameroonian Football Federation President Samuel Eto'o has been handed a 6-month ban by FIFA disciplinary panel for attempting any international matches involving the Central African country. The former Barcelona and Chelsea striker was sanctioned following breaches of 2 articles of the World Governing Body's disciplinary code. The ban was issued in connection with the Under-20 Women's World Cup last 16 game between Cameroon and Brazil in September 11th, which the South Americans won 3-1 after extra time. Barcelona and Spain football legend Andres Iniesta is set to retire from the game at the age of 40. The veteran midfielder had been a free agent for several months after leaving his latest club, Emirates FC club, and has decided to draw his career to an end. Iniesta is one of the most beloved of Spain's footballers, having scored the winning goal in the 2010 World Cup final, the only goal of the game, 4 minutes from the end of extra time to secure a first ever world title for La Roja. He was also key in their victories at Euro 2008 and 2012. And that's it on AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Remember, we are on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276 and free to air on Icomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms by using at Global TV NG and at the handles now showing on your screen. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning.
Independence Day is an official national holiday in Nigeria, commemorated by her government and the people to mark Nigeria's proclamation of her independence from British rule. Nigeria gained her independence, receiving her Freedom Charter on October 1, 1960, after calls for independence of territories in Africa and the decline of the British Empire. Since the attainment of independence, Nigeria experienced long-standing regional stresses caused by ethnic competitiveness, educational imbalance. In 1975, before he was assassinated in December 1976, during the Second Republic, a new constitution was formed to replace the British-style parliamentary system with a presidential one. Following Nigeria's continued economic decline in the Second Republic, the military seized the opportunity to stage a coup on December 31st, 1983, and General Ibrahim Babangida in 1985 assumed power and promised that the public opinion would influence his decision and those of the Armed Forces Ruling Council. This led to the public demanding an end to military rule. A transition program was announced in 1986. The 1979 Constitution was modified by a Constituent Assembly. A presidential election was slated for June 1993 between two pro-government candidates, Chief MKO Abiola of the SDP and Alhaji Bashir Tofa of the NRC. Till present, this election is considered the most peaceful, free and fair elections in the history of Nigeria, producing Chief Abiola as the winner. General Babangida, however, annulled the results before they became official, which led to him being forced out of power in August 1993, and an interim national government was instituted. With Chief Abiola's victory at the June 1993 elections, Nigeria's political future was considered to be bright, but was hampered by Abacha's seizure of power. But with Abacha's sudden death in June 1998, General Abdulsalam Abubakar was appointed to replace him, and he promised to transfer power to civilians. Nigeria returned to civil rule in the year 1999 with General Olusegun Obasanjo as the president-elect and was sworn in on May 29, 1999. Since then, Nigeria has experienced an uninterrupted democracy. 64 years later, Nigeria, despite its numerous developments, is still faced with labor troubles, economic issues, and insecurity, among others. A lot of Nigeria's hopes are dashed, while aspirations are getting higher.
The masses are not smiling. They deceive all, they say they remove the subsidy, everything will be okay. Now everything is going high every day.
It's no longer a safe place for a poor man anymore. It's now survival of the fittest.
All the exposures where our senators, our governors, they travel abroad, go see, they need to start implementing those things here. A country where somebody stole 82 billion naira as a former governor, walked into the economic and financial crime after being declared wanted, and they told him to go. They don't want him. In the night, the same EFCC went to his house and started shooting gun. Is that on Netflix?
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu, in his Independence Day broadcast, expressed concerns over the pains Nigerians are going through in the face of the economic challenges.
I want to assure you that your voices are heard. As your president, I assure you that we are committed to finding sustainable solutions to alleviate the suffering of our citizens. Once again, I plead for your patience as the reforms we are implementing show positive signs, and we are beginning.
welcome back from the break. It's still Global Morning, and it's time for us after the AM news. I know you're well informed right now. It's time for us to look at the remainder of the papers and what they're saying before we kick into our discourse for the day. We've got the Daily Times up next for review as we look at the top stories making the Daily Times. We've got headlines from the Daily Times. It says mixed reactions trail Nigeria's 64th independence anniversary is the bold headline on the Daily Trust newspaper. Then we've got Bobrisky is the kicker there. NCOS affirms suspension of 7 senior officers. That's the headline there. We've got Nigeria imported 20.30 billion liters of petrol in 2023, says the MBS. Then we've got on page 14 of the Daily Times, despite clampdowns, selling and spraying of Naira notes at parties still persist. You find that story on page 14. On page 20 of the Daily Times, we've got Nigerian carriers in urgent need of support, says aviation experts. And we've got Nigeria at 64 is a kicker. Obi seeks independence from state capture and end to sufferings. Those are some of the big headline stories. And we've got Middle Belt minorities demand secession from North and others. All right, those are the big stories from the Daily Times. For you, which of them of interest to you?
Of course, it's the Star story that says mixed reactions during Nigerian 64th independence anniversary, and it says we return the economy to serve Nigerians better, and that's in the voice of Tinubu, giving us another sense of hope, giving us that let's keep forging ahead, knowing that efforts are being made. Sometimes it's not, we're not seeing it. You might not see, but the efforts are being made on the ground. Let's just be hopeful. Let's keep hope alive. And of course, Nigerians, the mixed reaction like you hear a lot of people, we're 64 years. What are we celebrating? But they fail to realize that it's a long way coming. It wasn't always like this. At a point in some other administrations, these were really, really good. We had it good. We're excited. We jubilated when it comes to celebrating the birthday of Nigeria. But it's not as rosy as it is now. But let's still be hopeful. Let's keep hope alive. I know that with time, everything is going to be fine. So
all right, we've got Nigeria imported 20.30 billion liters of petrol in 2023. Is of interest to me. The MBS, talking about National Bureau of Statistics, is giving us that statistics. But at times you hear them also, government says they cannot tell us in specifics how much petrol Nigeria consumes per month, per day, week. And so I guess with this statistics from the MBS, we can actually say we would have an idea or take stock of how much petrol Nigerians consume. Because with that, we'll be able to tell if they are those who smuggle it out. We can tell which amount is smuggled out, and we should be able to work on that. And there's also very scary news coming from the aviation sector, where carriers say they need urgent support. And hopefully, we hope the federal government, Festus Keyamo, who is the Minister of Aviation, will be doing the needful on their behalf so that the aviation sector would be able to survive. We dearly need them. Then Nigeria 64 will be 6 independence. I think that's also interesting when he talks about state capture. It reminds me of probably talking about the Edo saga, the Edo polls I just finished, where there's this notion that Edo State was just captured by the APC, the ruling party. But I think it's not just as straightforward as that, because I was in Edo State. Yeah, so what I noticed was the PDP did APC a lot of good by having very bad governance for that period by Obaseki. He had issues with the monarch, the Oba of Bini, and so he had beaten.
More than he
could chew. So he had bad blood spread everywhere. Yes, so it was easier for the APC to penetrate. And another key factor was Oshobaba. For every local government we went, Oshobaba was the key to open the door. And I think that would be something very instrumental for the governor-elect now to hold on to, because he could notice that everywhere Oshobaba
There was
went.
acceptance.
There was acceptance. They reminded him of the road he did for them, the school projects, and so that was very instrumental. And I think that was where the APC swept PDP off their feet. So regardless of the power of incumbency of Obaseki, the damage was already
and was done. And then the thing is, this is like a lesson for leaders.
Yes, true.
When you're in power, you do not know what the future says or what lies ahead. Your impact goes a long way. The people do not forget easily. Imagine when former Governor Adams
Oshiomhole,
was in power. All the things he
did,
impact when it comes to road, when it comes to school, when it comes to entrepreneurship, they still remember. And that was why he had very easy access when he came.
He was able to go back to the same community and ask for their vote.
Exactly, and say, okay, see, I am not the one coming, but I trust this particular person because he is my person. Vote for it. And that was why it was so easy.
I think he always had one particular slogan for each place. So whenever he reminded them of that, they also knew he had a thing for the women folk. Because every time if there's no, that's how he put it, there's no miliki for her, and they would laugh. And I kept wondering, what was this miliki he was saying? So it was obvious there was this relationship between him and the people, and I think it's very important for Nigerian leaders, and I feel that man, every time he steps out for voting in Edo State, he's going to get it, because you could see this was genuine love for this man.
It just shows how he carried the people from the beginning till now. That's the thing. Once you have a good rapport with anyone, if your rapport is good and you understand the masses, you have to understand that these are the people that can actually vote you into power, and that's just it, basically.
All right, I think we're likely to have our guest talking about Ahazia Suleiman, former director of news from The Voice of Nigeria. He's joining us from Gombe State to help us look at what the papers are saying. And hopefully in the next couple of minutes, we'll be having also the former chief whip of the Anambra State House of Assembly in the person of Honorable Tonu Uche Ezekwelu, who will be joining us live in the studios. But before he joins us, let's join Suleiman Ahazia from Gombe State, the former director of news, Voice of Nigeria, to help us look at some of the big stories making the rounds. All right, while we're waiting for Ahazia to join us, looking at the story, still looking at the Daily Times. Okay, all right, Ahazia, good morning. Nice to have you join us on Global Morning.
Tony, good morning. My sister there, good morning. And I'm happy to be with you again after a very long time. I'm in Gombe. Everywhere is calm, peaceful. The only challenge is fuel is selling not less than 1,100. And so movement is restricted and people are exercising. Maybe it will be good enough, healthy enough for us. Those of us who are not walking distances, we're working, but everywhere is fine, and we thank God we're in the harvest season. Crops are beginning to be brought home for eating, so everywhere is fine. Thank God.
All right, thank you very much. We've been looking at the Daily Trust and the Daily Times, and we've got some very interesting stories. We just want you to chew on it. We've got one of them says Middle Belt minority demand secession from North and others. And we also have got the mixed reaction to Nigeria's independence anniversary. Then we've got Nigerian carriers in urgent need of support, says the aviation exports. For you, what's your take? Which of the stories catches your fancy?
For me. All right, Tony, are you back?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you. Yeah. It went off from your own side. I have been on. And
okay.
I heard you.
All right, we wanted you to react to some of the big stories on the Daily Times.
Where I come from in Gombe State belongs to the Middle Belt Forum.
Okay.
And, if you hear talking about secession, is as a result of marginalization. marginalization. If I should use Gombe State as an example, Gombe South belongs to the Middle Belt Forum, and since the return to democracy, we've never had a minister, we've never had a governor, we only had deputy governors and secretaries to the state government. If Nigeria is to be one, they are saying that they are raising their voices so that they could be heard loud and clear, and so that there will be equity. If there will be rotational governorship or presidency where it will favor us, fine and good. We've never produced any president from the Middle Belt nor vice president from the Middle Belt. And so if they are saying that, they want to call the attention of all Nigerians so that just like the Southeast, we shouldn't be marginalized. We are part of Nigeria. Developmental efforts should reach these parts of the country. And so when they are saying that, not that actually they mean to succeed, but they want equity in all that will be done in this country. All regions of the country should be treated equally, equal opportunities. You find out that children of these people from the Middle Belt or Southeast Nigeria, the Constitution should be able to guarantee all persons in Nigeria, let's use meritocracy rather than favoritism, nepotism, and all manner of things that grant people some opportunities. Talking of mixed reactions trailing Nigeria at 64, I was not born when Nigeria got independent, but believe you me, I was a kid when the unfortunate civil war happened, and those of us far away from the epicenter of the war were always very, very scared and afraid. Once we see an aeroplane crossover, we had that fear that the Igbos are coming to bomb us. But 64 years from today, from the day of independence, we've come a very, very long way. We should be able to count our blessings and name them one by one. There is mixed reaction, mixed blessings, as we say, as the papers say. Some are blessed. We have developed. We have come a long way. The fact that we survived the civil war and Nigeria has grown from what it used to be, from the regional governments to states. We have 36 states today, and so much development. A new capital has come into being. If we could just eliminate corruption and treat every Nigerian equally, I believe everything, this country is destined for greatness. And most importantly, our leaders should look within and develop a kind of local politics. We should not stop borrowing from the world, the West. We go to the West to borrow what does not suit us, and that is our greatest challenge. If we can use locally manufactured kind of democracy, I would call it manufactured democracy, I think Nigeria will go a very long way. We should not copy the Americans. Their own type of politics is unique to them. We should have our own that is very, very unique to us in Africa and in Nigeria in particular. We have our differences. Americans, how many tribes do they have? In Nigeria, we have over 400 distinct tribes, languages that don't understand each other. So
all right, let's go for a very quick break because your picture quality is quite unfriendly, so that we can see how we can get a better
okay, let me change my
quality. Then we'll return back to our conversation
as well. I don't know. Let me change my position as well.
right, you're welcome back, and it's Global Morning, still on the part 2 of the newspaper review, and we're joined by Ohazia Suleiman, and he's calling in all the way from Gombe State, and we'll talk about the Guardian newspaper. Mr. Suleiman, are you here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Very well, ma'am.
All right, we're going to be looking at the Guardian newspaper, and below the nameplate it says, protest discontent mar Nigerians' 64th Independence Day celebration. And then it says, governors salute Nigerians for resilience amid hardship. And there's another story there that says, El-Rufai, I did not steal as governor, I'm ready to swear with Quran. And ASU gives federal government 35-day ultimatum on lingering crisis. Jonathan Obi advocates strong institution as Tinubu leads Independence Day celebration. PDP not one-man enterprise, governors reply Wike's ally. And CDHR advocates removal of states from federal structure, Southwest in need of modern ranches, not open grazing of old. Now, one of the stories that caught my attention is ASU gives federal government 35-day ultimatum on lingering crisis. Can we just talk briefly on ASU? Do you think the government is not taking ASU seriously when it comes to the educational body as a whole? The children going back and forth with this issue. What's your take on it, basically?
My sister, I'm so affected by this ASU lingering strike. My son was supposed to have gone for service. The 8 months ASU strike affected him. COVID came in, and up till now, he's still in school. I don't know. Your child will start university education. You don't know when he will end it. And it's so frustrating. I think the federal government is being hypocritical in all that they are doing, because this thing started not with this administration, not with the Buhari administration, not even with the Jonathan administration. It started basically from Obasanjo to Yar'Adua's administration. Why is it so difficult for government to live up to its own expectations by answering or doing, having their own part of the bargain fulfilled? ASU has suspended, they will call on strike, come on strike, and they will suspend it with the hope that the government will live, and all the promises made are never kept. And we've had university lecturers as ministers of education. The current minister of education, he was a vice chancellor. We've had Rukayat, who also came from the academia. We've had some of them who came from the academia, who were part of the ASU. And yet when they get there, I don't know what happens to them, that they will fail in fulfilling their own. It is destroying our educational system. And that is why when our children come out of the university, they become something else. When I was in service, a mass communication graduate will come. He wouldn't have known anything. You are starting from the basics as if he was in part 1. And I know they just copy and paste whatever they have from, in the social media as their homework and other things that they do. See what the government did recently when they, they discredited certificates coming from some universities in Benin Republic. That is what is going to be in Nigeria. You go there, you go and buy a certificate, within 3-6 months, you are back as a graduate and they give you employment, promote you to high heavens. I think if we really want this country to develop, we should encourage technical education and don't allow these lecturers. Their reward shouldn't come from heaven when they get to heaven. It should be right here on earth. They should be rewarded accordingly. It's unfortunate that this thing has lingered on for over 20 years. Some of these lecturers have even retired who started the struggle. And I think the government is not being fair to these lecturers. Honestly speaking, I don't put the blame on them. I don't put the blame, it's the government. It is not the current government. It started long ago. But what is there? A signing agreement and you living by those agreements. You see, Nigerian universities are not rated among the best in the world because there is no grant for research. They don't give them money to, you research and get results. Some of these problems that we are having, if we put the challenge on the universities and give the lecturers the money, the funding for them to suggest or to do research and find out and come up with the best things that will suit this country, believe you me, Nigerians are very intelligent. They will do that, but they need that support.
Okay. Now, another story that caught my attention on The Guardian, it says, El-Rufai, I didn't steal as governor. I'm ready to swear with the Quran. Has it gotten to that level? Because, of course, we heard about, he says, the money laundering charges against him. Has it gotten to that point that he has to use the Holy Quran to swear out of not being guilty, as many have said?
Well, God will not come from heaven and punish us as it was in the olden days. I'm a Christian. In the Old Testament, you were given instant punishment. If you swear that he has not stolen any money, why is he being accused? Some billions got missing. Were they appropriated to him as his legitimate salary? How did those monies get to him? If we check his account balance, how much was his salary while he was a governor? And how much did he does he have right now as he is as a citizen of Nigeria? So this thing, just leave that thing. He's just playing to the gallery. I don't believe if he were to swear with the Quran and instant judgment as it was in the Old Testament of the Bible happened to you. Even in the days of Jesus Christ, you remember the story of Sapphira and her husband when they sold land to finance the apostles' work of evangelism. They hid some, and when the husband came and declared what he declared, the woman came and concurred. What happened to them? They died instantly. If that kind of judgment were to come today, will El-Rufai open his mouth and say he will swear by the Quran? So just leave that to my sister. He's just playing to the gallery to say that he has not stolen any money. Let's go and check his bank account. If he doesn't have billions, and where was his salary up to $1 billion? So how would he have gathered all those monies? So just leave that one. He's playing to the gallery.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much, Mr. Hazia Suleiman, for that amazing contribution, and this is where we call it a wrap on the newspaper segment. Thank you so much for being a part of your program and sharing your wheel of experience with us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, my sister.
All right, with that, that's the end of the newspaper review. Up next is the first discuss of the day. Do not go anywhere. Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bonds, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Welcome back from the break. We're still on the Global Morning, and this is our second discourse as we look at very key issues. We're still in the mood of Nigeria at 64, and we're looking at performance indicators to achieve a prosperous nation at 64. No better person but the former chief whip of the Anambra State House of Assembly and the person of Honorable Tony Uche Ezekulu is in the live studios to help us x-ray how far and how well Nigeria has done and what we should be doing going forward to achieve a prosperous nation. Thank you for joining me in the studios.
Thank you, Tony. It's good to be here. Long time.
Yeah, and also just to say congratulations. Recently, I know you did win your court cases, and now officially you're Deputy Governor-elect.
Quite well. That one is, by the way, I am currently the National Vice Chairman of APGA. Instead of Southeast. Yeah.
All right, so congratulations for the feat achieved, and we hope more to come.
Thank you, my brother.
All right, let's happy 64th anniversary, first of all. Then let's look at Nigeria. For you, what are the key performance indicators that could help Nigeria achieve a prosperous nation?
Thank you, Tony. When people talk about Nigeria at 64, Nigeria was actually born in 1914. So we'll be talking about Nigeria 110 at this point in time. Independence was the change of political leadership for the British that colonized from the British that colonized us some criminal British element that colonized us, because it's criminal for somebody to go and colonize another person's country, you know, and they rule there and extort and steal and loot and did everything very bad to other people until the people started fighting and gave them independence. Yes, in 1960, October 1st, precisely, Nigeria became a country on its own, independent from the British rule. But unfortunately, along the line, it had become very clear that British never left Nigeria. Nigeria, because to date, apart from the fact that it's Nigerians that are ruling the country, I do not see any form of independence, both in the political, in the economy, in the social life of this country. And we are still to a very large extent dependent on almost everything back on the West and the British, and which is not a good indicator for this country. Most countries that were colonized, that got their independence, have actually moved away from the West, from their colonizers, and have become independent. Like India. India is now challenging the whole of Europe in all areas and with all indicators. If you look at Singapore, look at Indonesia, if you look at the United Arab Emirates, if you look at Malaysia, if you look at even some South Africa is even doing better under that. So, and it's Nigerian own, I don't know how to describe it. Even Ghana, even doing better than us. Now go to Botswana, and Rwanda, and so many other countries that were colonized, and they got their independence around the time we got, or even after us. They are doing well. If looking at the key indicators for development, for
any nation,
for any nation, you will see that Nigeria has been retrogressing as it's after independence today instead of progressing.
But what would be the indicators you would use to judge?
Good. If you want to judge the indication, if you want to look at the indicators that will show that a country is progressing, doing well, first of all, you look at one, security of lives and properties in the country. Nigeria had become worse than it had ever been. In fact, it wasn't this bad during the Civil War. It wasn't this bad. In the Civil War, it was just an enclave of the eastern Nigeria. Today, the entire country is at war. And at war with itself. And in this particular area, at a point, Nigeria was exporting security to other countries. To Liberia, to Sierra Leone, to other parts of the world, to Congo, to so many other parts of Africa and part of the world, leading peacekeeping operations. Today, Nigeria have been bedeviled by its own making some highest level of internal insecurity and the terrorism attack. That was caused by bad leadership, purely by bad leadership. That's number one about insecurity of lives and property, because that's the fundamental reason why a government exists. If a country cannot protect itself, it is not worth being called a country. Lives and properties are the most important, the fundamental. That's why in every constitution, the Nigerian constitution says that the security of lives and properties of Nigerians are the number one, the primary goal for a country. That's number one.
Do you think because the elites, government officials, get maximum adequate security, that's why they do not know the extent of insecurity bedeviling the country?
I would say it is part of it. They know. They have been insensitive and most times irresponsible. And they are being irresponsive and irresponsible. Rather than not, they know. After all, one way or the other, either their relations or who they know from their places are affected by this insecurity. They are feeling it in the economy. They are feeling it in the public life. They are feeling it in the loss of soldiers' life and resources that were being wasted. The only issue is that most of the people that have ruled Nigeria after the first set, Nigeria was first ruled after independence by some of the best we had. And the economy was progressing. In fact, the economy of the eastern region of Nigeria was just at one of the fastest growing economies in the whole world. Growing at a point that were larger than ever the percentage ever done by any other country in the world. Now, in those times, we will see almost everything. Nigeria built the first refineries, give it itself power. We're having 24-hour power supply. Nigeria was not only refining its own petroleum, but at a point what we were exporting to other African countries. Nigeria was manufacturing most of the vehicles that were used here in Nigeria. In those days, you, as a government official, you can never use any car that was imported. It's Peugeot, done in Kaduna, by Pan. It was Volkswagen, done in Lagos. It was Mercedes-Benz, done in Enugu. And the others. Nigeria was manufacturing the battery, Vata battery, and others. In fact, the whole battery that was being used in Nigeria was manufactured here in Nigeria. Tires, Dunlop, Michelin, others were here. Nigeria was manufacturing almost everything we needed. In those days, almost whatever I can think about, we were being self-sufficient and we were growing to that until progressively the nepotism that was created by the British colonizers. It was part of the British design to keep Nigeria down. Nepotism, tribalism, and that was the major issue that brought about the fall of Nigeria.
Is it true we should blame them for nepotism and tribalism when we are the ones that are tribal? Because they seem to be one unit.
No.
Unlike Nigeria, so we have people with different languages, different ethnic groups.
No.
We have more ethnic groups in Nigeria than in the UK.
Yeah, that's a fact, but that was when they saw it. If they did not use the policy of divide and rule, they could never have ruled Nigeria. It was impossible.
Okay.
If they have in any way tried by their education system, by religion, they brought religion and brought about divisions in the system. So that your brother you can no longer relate with if I am Anglican and my Catholic, we not relate with definitely we are brothers. Or if you're a Muslim and I'm a Christian, you cannot relate. Definitely that we are blood brothers. So they designed that package and embedded it in that amalgamation of 2014. Let me tell you, every country is designed as a package, as it designed. It's a formula. It's a program. Then that's a program. The program they designed in Nigeria, they designed Nigeria never to work. But by the time we took over power, instead of trying to unravel what we called backward integration. Backward integration is a situation whereby if somebody had designed a program, use backward integration to now reverse it until you get a point and you redesign your own package. And that is what most people have been talking about. Restructuring.
Are you indirectly saying our founding fathers were not smart enough to have known that backward integration was the way to go, or did not get to understand that the colonial masters had done us more harm in terms of the divide and rule?
No,
the
they were smart enough. They were dismantling that system. But the British didn't just leave. They just left the head and were still doing the administration. They were still heading some of the key things, intelligence and other things in the system. By the time they see that Nigeria was tending towards fast lane, they created bigger division. They started advising wrongly. Because, as at that time, you have this northern Nigeria, we have this eastern region, we have this western region, and then the middle belt region. Yeah. They started giving very wrong advice. Whatever happened in the Western Nigeria in 1964 was the bad clincher that led to the fall of Nigeria. And with time, from my own research and study, the 1966 coup that was led by some young majors, young military officers, were a package designed, manufactured in Britain by their secret service to destabilize Nigeria. Because they saw Nigeria was already tending towards progression. Right. So now the Western oligarchy, the Western system of government will not want you to grow. That was what they were. You look at what French was doing to Francophone countries. How can you, an African, be answering a Francophone? For what madness is that one? How are we Francophone? How are they Francophone? Or you say, are we Anglophone? For God's sake, I'm not an Englishman. I have no business with English people. I am an African. Okay? Now, what they design here is to keep us down. And some of these our leaders, by the time they started understanding it, because you need to practice to learn. Because the education they gave us was a no education. It was education of subjugation. To continue colonizing via mental colonization. Mental slavery. That's what they designed for us. And we swallowed the hook and sinker. The education they left for us here was an education that produces people that will serve them. That will not be creative. But when we took over, now, gradually, if you watch what was happening in eastern Nigeria, in those times before the war, you know that our people have started getting themselves off. If you see what was happening in western Nigeria, we were getting themselves off. Now, not because they not resisted western education. They were a little backward in that direction. And the leader of the North then never wanted independence at that point in time so that they could meet up with others. And he requested from Zik and Awuru and others, let's face the independence. But they refused because they were in a hurry.
Was that a mistake?
It was.
Okay.
Because left for me alone, they should have, if Zik has accepted the proposal by Awuru and others, and they moved on their own, and allowed them not to join when they are ready, Nigeria will not be in this mess. But that, by the way, the mess have been done.
Okay.
My own take on it is that Nigeria progressively started having the worst we have in the country as leaders. And by the time we have the worst as our leaders, then what do you expect? Then the military incursion. I said the first coup and other coups in Nigeria. There's no coup that have ever been in Nigeria that do not have the imprimatur, that were not cooked, designed and cooked and baked in Britain.
All right. You've mentioned the first issue of protection of life and properties as one of the key indicators.
The number one indicator.
So which will be the next you would hold responsible to achieve a prosperous nation?
Go at education. Education for prosperity.
Do you think
creative education?
We know in the past we had free education, we had feeding school in schools, we had
But it was designed. Every university is designed with a kind of philosophy and ideology of what you want to achieve. But further than now, we are moving on properly well until these are our detractors. So that if these people are left to move in this
way... Is it fair to always put the blame on
the
Western world and Nigerians? Because Nigerians are in charge.
I'm not only putting the blame on them. You are not allowing me. Okay. I'm telling you that we allowed them to continue to still business to date. That's the problem I'm talking.
Okay.
At any point in time, we should have cut every level or nature relationship with Britain and the West and face our own development squarely.
Like the Chinese did.
Like the Indians did. Like the people that some other like Singapore did. If you want to develop, you have every resources, human, material, natural, otherwise within. You do not need any other country to develop. Nigeria, God has blessed Nigeria so much that we can be self-sustaining as an independent country. Nigeria can become almost autonomous because we have almost everything we need in this country. Let me give you an instance. Do you know that Botswana is still having free education to date? Free education, free feeding, free accommodation for students to date. And so many others. Now, the system of education that we inherited was a colonial and slave mentality education, which we have discarded since and faced our education, like that one is called certificate education, which I don't even care. Let me tell you something. Apart from when I wanted to do my master's, I've never used that piece of paper that you can go, according to one of our leaders currently, you can go to the business center and print a certificate. And do you know what I look at Nigerian certificate as? I look at Nigerian certificate as the value is equal to the value of the paper it is printed with in business center. That's how I see the certificates. Now, what I value is the quality of education that the person obtains in the institution, not that piece of paper. That's why I never needed a piece of paper. Those that read banking and finance, marketing, this and that, and the insurance, all that, they came about, I beat all of them to it. We were to study for the interview. And I moved from a marketing officer to get the manager, the sales manager of the branch. as an engineer. That shows you what education is all about. It's about education, it's about piece of paper. And until and unless Nigeria, they emphasizing this piece of paper, like called certificate, that is not worth more than the paper on which it is printed, will never move forward. In China, it's not about the piece of paper. In Indonesia, in Malaysia, in other countries that it's not about the piece of paper. Even in America, it's not about the piece of paper. And American university can give a doctorate degree, a professorship to somebody who did not go to primary school. It's about the quality of knowledge. You can impart.
I know about that tradition in the Igbo land, but it has not always meant that those boys became men and succeeded.
It's not about, a lot of people that are doctors and professors are still begging for food today. They have not succeeded in anything. It is an indication to show that this person is educated in this field. Finish. Certificate is to tell the next person, this person has been found worthy in learning and character in this field. Finish. That is an indication. That's what they say, to certify. That's what they say. It is not the paper that says who you are, but this is to certify that
you've gone through that process.
That have gone through the process. So by the time we start learning, for instance, in the Islamic system of education, when a person goes through their Quranic schools, and after that, he says, after their majority training, the person is supposed to be certified to have gone to certain quality of education in this area, primary education and secondary education and others. Education is not only that Western system. Our own traditional system of education is even better and more effective because it trains you on how to survive in life and in all areas of leadership, training, and other sectors of the economy. It should be valued more than this Western education that was designed to colonize our minds and colonize our spirit and our system that should be discarded. To me, by now, Nigeria should be talking about an education that focuses on creativity, on entrepreneurship, on production, education that is focused on creativity. The university of education, the system of university we have in Nigeria is, as far as I'm concerned, is a mess.
It's theory-based.
Theory-based. I went mechanical production engineering. I was only in the workshop and in the labs when it was time to do some tests. I never entered the lab more than 4 times till I graduated. I only decided on my own every holiday to go and learn those things from the roadside technicians. And by the time I did my IT in SEDI, Scientific Equipment Development Institute in Enugu State. That's where I now acquired the practical knowledge in my field. Today I'll tell you I'm a master in fabrication, weather fabrication. I can design and fabricate whatever I see. I can design and fabricate it. And that's my field. But Nigerian economy, in education, you are trained in a system in judicial. What's that in name? Is it either Tony Blair or not Tony Blair? The one before Tony Blair. And the policies, local and international policies, foreign policies, excellently well. And Britain was booming because they look at the quality of the human being and the knowledge is had, not at the paper education. They want to talk about the issue of economy. Economy is one of the most important. After security of land and property, the economy should have come before education. But the reason why I put education before economy is because it is the quality of education you have that will give you the human being that will manage the economy. It is the nature of education you have that will determine the nature of economy you have. If you have an improper education, you have an improper economy. When the oil boom came, the managers were people who are what you can call of fortune, leaders of fortune that came in by the way of the guns, and then they were interested in entertaining themselves. You know, they were seeing the value of the money coming in as boom, but they do not know that by the time you look at those things with other indicators, it may not actually be a boom. Okay. And that was why we mistook it and it destroyed the Nigerian economy. And today we are on our knees begging. At a point, Nigeria was have 3 functional refineries. We had 3 functional refineries. We had the Port Harcourt, the Warri, and the Kaduna refinery that were fully functioning, pumping at almost 100% installed capacities. And we don't have a problem. At a point, Nigerian naira was bigger than the dollar and can easily fight at the Kuwait with the pound sterling. At a point, Britain and America and other became jealous and became envious of Nigeria. And we are afraid that with the way Nigeria was going, Nigeria could turn around the African fortune for good. And they now decided to destroy the economy. They destroyed the economy. They started, first of all, by assassinating Murtala Mohammed. Why did they assassinate him? Murtala Mohammed was encouraging and sponsoring revolution movements in South Africa, in Congo, and in other places. Nigerian foreign policy was pro-Africa.
Pro-Africa, yeah.
So now they saw him as a threat to the Western interests and powers because America and Europe were here stealing and looting. That's the only thing they are doing. They are not doing anything good for us. They are just there to steal and to loot. You know, Africa is very rich and they are poor people. Europe is poor. Britain is poor. France is poor. Remove Africa, they can't feed themselves. Remove Africa, they'll be on their knees.
You're talking in terms of natural resources.
Natural resources and even human. That was why they came to take away the best of our brains, change them into their own place to build their places. Africans, my ancestors built United States. Your ancestors built Britain, built France, built Belgium. At a point, King Leopold of Belgium, who was the ruler of Congo, killed over 20 million of my brothers and your brothers in Congo because of diamond and gold and other natural resources. Today, there's war going on in Congo, Congo Zaire, Congo Brazzaville, because of natural resources that America is tapping. Because of those beautiful resources that they cannot do without in their science and technology. Without Africa, America cannot go to space. Britain or China or Russia cannot go to space. God made here a rich place, and they're here to loot. They are bandits. Now, we, on our economy, instead of sitting down to work ourselves in, one of the biggest mistakes that was ever done in Nigeria, that put Nigeria in this mess, was General Agui Ironsi accepting the advice from the British advisors to make Nigeria, to turn Nigerian government to a unitary government. They came around him. If Nigeria had remained in the regional setting, Nigeria would not be like this. And that's why most of us are talking about restructuring. To get the economy of the country right, we must decentralize, we must restructure the country. We must sit back.
Do you see that call for restructuring was loud some years back? Now that it seems to have melted away, do you see that happening?
It haven't melted away. I think the reason why the agitators are not so much like that pushing, because they believe that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had been a strong proponent of restructuring. They believe he will do it. But I don't think that we Nigerians should keep quiet and allow him to just do that, because by the time you get to that power, I don't know what also happened to people in that household. By the time you get there, you change and become a totally different person. Because if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who we know, who came in from the bunkers, from the trenches, had been in opposition, fighting for the restructuring of Nigeria to be president, and 1 year has passed, and that year is coming to pass, and he has not started addressing the issue of restructuring, something is wrong somewhere. The only way for Nigeria to move forward, not to burn down in conflagration, is to restructure this country. If you don't restructure this country, Nigeria cannot move forward. Nigeria will continue to move backwards. You know why? The system that was created by Britain, by the military for selfish tribalistic interests.
Are you saying the British or the military still holds sway in terms of they still call the shots? Because we've been in democracy since 1999. And you say we've not been able to break loose from former military leaders.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If I've broken rules, why must Nigerian presidential candidates go to Chatham House? What did they call that place? Chatham House, if one for London. Why would they go there to have debate for them to now determine who becomes the president or who don't become the president? Why would we seek the affirmation of Britain and America to confirm who the president becomes? Now let me tell you something. Do you think that the Boko Haram, ISWAP, and the banditry in Nigeria is just an ordinary local setting? Why do you think that Niger, Mali, and Cote d'Ivoire had to pull out France from their country?
You know that there's been French interference.
I tell you that without this Western power, there will be nothing. The Boko Haram, ISWAP, and that will be decimated within a matter of weeks. Who supplies them the arms and damage? How did they get all these sophisticated weapons? who manufactures them, who sells it to them, who listens it to them, who protects them. Because let me tell you, the world now has a communication system that tracks everybody. And by the time you see that there are so many international conspiracy that runs the government of Nigeria. And that's our problem. Now, and unless Nigerians understand...
And do you believe in all of them?
What have I been speaking here before?
There are
I say that until and unless we dismantle those unholy greed of some international musketeers, international vultures, buccaneers, that are reaping from the bad governance in Nigeria, we will not move forward. For instance, why is it, can anybody tell me here in Nigerian economy, why is it that Nigeria does not have a record of the amount of oil that is extracted from Nigeria and sold out to date? Why the NMPs cannot give record of its dealings to date? Why Aramco of Saudi Arabia, every Saudi Arabian can sit down in his house, press computer, and see the oil, the way they flow, how they come out, where they go. The same thing all over the world. The same thing with that of other countries of the world. Why is it Nigerian owned shrouded in secrecy?
As we wrap up, we've got barely just 5 minutes.
I've already talked about the economy. And there are other social factors that we should...
Yes, let's just see how we can wrap them up.
Okay, let me do a break point. Religious peace and harmony. Once there's no religious peace and harmony, you cannot have progressive nation. Once you don't have... But
we used to have that religious peace and harmony before now.
No,
what happened?
The local and international politics elevated this as a tool for destabilization for the economy because of interests of the selfish, greedy people, both local and international. They played up those religious sentiments up. They are not natural. Because if you go to other countries of the world, in United Arab, in Dubai, the government, the Muslim government, or the country build a church, a cathedral for the Catholics. In so many other countries, it happens. In my place, in those days, people used to donate and build a mosque where the Hausa people that trade around. Hausa people also joined in building coaching churches and other churches in the north. In those days, before those things were played up, because they have started seeing that if we allow these people to move forward, those of them, both their internal and external collaborators in this power game, will lose out. And that's why these things are done here. For instance, the look at what we are having in about fuel now, Dangote refinery and all that, all scam and scope. Everybody knows that the cost, if you do your research, you will know that the landing cost of fuel in Nigeria cannot be up to 300 naira. Cannot be up to 300 naira. And if you produce it in Nigeria, it becomes like 100 naira, or it will be like 200 naira. If you are producing here in Nigeria, the fuel is ours. We can decide to dedicate certain percentage of our fuel, our petroleum extraction to local refineries and manufacturers to make fuel cheap and run the life of Nigerians.
All right, wrap it up in a minute.
What I want to say that Nigeria had done so good. Nigeria was doing very well initially before it was ruffled. And there's need for us to look at why we have gone wrong, and I have pointed out where we went wrong. It's now time for Nigerians to know that the problem we are having is not for our own good. It's not caused by us, literally. But we need to look at how to unbundle that problem, dismember it, do a backward integration, and then we will now have a system that can work for us. That's what we call restructuring. Let us sit down together as Nigerians and they decide to move forward as a country, or decide otherwise. If we feel the kitchen is too hot, what do? You leave the kitchen.
Sure.
If it's too hot, let us now find a peaceful means of dismembering this country in line with the interest groups, and everybody goes in peace.
All right, that's not our aim. Our aim
is to have
remain
right.
a united nation.
Nigeria.
All right, so that's how we're going to call it a wrap on this discussion. I want to say a big thank you. Always a pleasure having Honorable Tony Uche in the studio. Lots of fireworks, and as we celebrate our 64th anniversary, the loopholes are already out there in the open. It's for us to resolve it so that we can move on as a great country. Let's go for a quick break. When we return from this break, we'll be wrapping up Global Morning. Stay with us. call it a wrap on Global Morning. I want to say a big thank you for joining us from 7 a.m. until this very moment. My name is Anthony Momodu saying thank you for being part of Africa's finest breakfast show, Global Morning.
And I am Jumai Manson. Thank you all so much for being there. Have an amazing day ahead. Bye-bye.
Good morning.